Hello and welcome everybody, and thank you for joining me again. My name is Wilky and today we're here with the next champion spotlight for Battlerite. And as today, I think roughly half an hour ago, a new patch has hit Battlerite where they released two new champions as they pretty much announced at the end of October. It's actually pretty decent since it's 21st October, so it's not actually that late. But let's just dive right into the first one, and that one is Ruh Kaan, I suppose it's gonna be pronounced, the Crypt Warden. And we're just gonna hop into the training mode and take a look at his skill set. Now, personally, I assume this is gonna be like the Harbinger from BLC, but I have no clue, so we're just gonna take a look. I'm not entirely sure what this green dot is, but we'll get to that. Default Blade strike deal 8 damage, deals 6 bonus damage and heals for 12, and inflicts curse if the weapon is charged. So this is something along the lines of Zenith, not Zenith, Sirius, and your weapon charges over time, which basically places a debuff on the enemy that'll allow you to heal yourself and deal extra damage, right? I'm not entirely sure if any of the Bloodline champions had this skill. Takes 8 seconds to recharge. And oh, I see now what that is actually a very good thing, which is something I wrote in the forums, that we didn't really have an indicator on when certain abilities would be charged, in this case the weapon. And now this little I guess green orb next to your health bar is going to show you that. That's actually pretty cool. That's a very cool feature. On to the second skill, Shadow Bolt. Now this is something more familiar. Launches a Shadow Bolt to deal 26 damage and deals 4 bonus damage if a weapon is charged. Shadow Bolt is, yeah, the casting animation looks pretty much like the one from Harbinger. I think it's a bit slower, the projectile, but it's a bit wider, at least the orb seems bigger. It doesn't hit like a freaking truck anymore. I recall it dealing 40 damage in Bloodline champions, or at least something that would be the equivalent of 40 damage. So it actually struck pretty hard. I mean, 26 or 30 if your weapon is charged is not actually that bad. And it only has a 3-second cooldown. So this is something you're probably still gonna be using a lot as a bait, because this is something people do not want to get hit by. So expect, if you haven't played him yourself yet, expect that this might be a common tactic to bait out certain evasives. Sinister Strike, dash attack that deals 16 area damage, right? Okay, this is actually a very short dash. You can actually do like a short or a long version. Not the best mobility tool, to be fairly honest with you. Seems a bit lackluster, but maybe it's to accomplish or to complement his other skill set. So at least in terms of that, a kinda medium range mobility. 16 damage is not too bad though. Q, consume, negate a projectile or melee attack in front of you, inflict a fading snare for, well, roughly. Alright. Did it slow him? I'm not sure. Probably not. Alright, inflict the fading snare and... oh, only on melee attackers, I see. So it's pretty much like Oldor's bubble where it knocks back melees. It's just gonna slow melee attackers. And if you negate an attack, you're gonna recharge your weapon instantly and you're gonna reset Shadow Bolt. So it kinda revolves around this ability as I expected, which was kinda a key feature of the Harbinger, though he kinda seems a bit different on these skills. Pretty decent cooldown, 8 seconds, and 1.5 seconds duration, so relatively long counter. Claw of the Wicked, launch a claw that drains 10 health and pulls enemies towards you. Pretty much exactly like, wow, that's actually a lot faster than the Harbinger version. But pretty much, yeah, a very, very close call. It seems to fly a bit slower than it used to. But then again, champions of Battlerite generally move a bit slower than they did in Bloodline champions, so probably all to not make it completely broken. And it drains 10 health, so it heals you by 10 as well, which is pretty cool. Now, this is pretty much the basic abilities. Let's go for the X abilities first. His spacebar is gonna be changed into Reaping Scythe, dealing 30 damage and healing by 30. Okay, let's take a look. Alright, I see. This is like a miniature version of Shifu's ultimate. Pretty decent, I guess. I'm not entirely sure if the 30 is linked to the amount of enemies you hit, or if it's gonna deal full damage if you only hit one enemy. I'm gonna try and see what'll happen. Alright, I got 15. 45 damage, let's see. I'm gonna try and only hit one. I see. The question is, does it heal more if I hit more enemies? Let's take another 30 damage. And let's take a look. What's gonna happen now? Kinda. So apparently that number is not exactly, or the number is actually linked to the target. So if you hit 2 targets for the full duration, you're probably gonna reach 60 HP. Yikes, that seems a bit strong on my personal opinion, but that might be tweaked in the future, or I'm just not getting the right numbers here, so keep an eye out for that. This might be a pretty tricky ability to fight against. Now, his second X ability is gonna change his E in the Claw of the Undying, which then pulls an ally and heals them for 24. Wow. Okay, pretty much determined by the green version. I think they all have the same thing. Pretty cool supportive tool. Nether Void is his R ability. Warp to a location, unleashing a Shadow Blast that inflicts curse. Alright, so this is pretty much where he kinda gets some mobility back. Very, very similar to Varus's R. A bit faster, I think. And I think a bit better range. And you can't really... Okay, you don't really have time to relocate yourself, so where your cursor is pretty much where you're gonna land. There's a very small time window to actually change around your direction. But this is what I meant with, I mean, he has a pull, he has a medium mobility, then he has a counter, and he can still move up to the enemy this way, so kinda makes sense. Alright, let's go for his ultimate. Shadow Beast, transform into a Shadow Beast, replace Defiled Blade, which is I think is left click, with a cleave attack, and Shadow Bolt with a powerful projectile attack, but everything else will be disabled. So as soon as I pop ultimate, I'm just gonna be using these two. Since it says cleave, let's take a look. Wow, 20 damage per hit. Wow, that's pretty good. Since we don't have any mobility, this has to be used when the enemy's close. And let's take a look at his right click now. Okay, wait, didn't it say it is gonna be replaced with a powerful... Okay. Maybe I misjudged this, but apparently by powerful they mean your right click is gonna have no cooldown. Or is it? Alright, let me see. No, your right click is not gonna have any cooldown, even if I turned off cooldowns. It's you can see that I have cooldowns. So if you pop ultimate, you can spam right or left click, dealing 20 damage and pulling enemies slightly towards you. I'm not sure. Okay, I think the pull from the E ability is a bit stronger. Let's take a quick look. Alright. So this is roughly where he was. And we're gonna pop this. Yeah, I think the right click with his ultimate does not actually pull as far. Yeah, it doesn't. So keep that in mind, that his right click will not pull enemies as far as your E ability, but since it has no cooldown, and it'll deal 20 damage, I think, which is pretty, well, fairly good for something with no cooldown. And then with a melee cleave. So basically you then get the option to deal 20 melee damage in an arc in front of you, or to have ranged attack that'll pull enemies slightly towards you. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the Ruh Kaan Spotlight, and I will be covering the second champion as well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I'm kind of pleased that they released them a bit earlier. They also released a bunch of new items and not consumables, costumes, which I'll probably cover in a patch notes video. But for now, that'll be all. Thank you guys for checking out this spotlight, and hopefully see you guys in the next one as well.